I've met a lot of people in my life. I've worked with a lot of people in my life. And sometimes the people that I work with become friends. And that is definitely what has happened with my friend Dean. We worked together on a remodel project years ago. And I was impressed with his professional skills as a plumber. But I also was just impressed with him as a person. And over the years, we've become quite close. And over the years, we've collaborated on a lot of fun projects. Not just for work and money, but for fun. I've helped him on his place in Oregon City. He certainly helped me in my house in Portland. And he and I collaborated quite a bit on a bunch of projects in my property in Washington State. So over the years, we've grown quite close. And that's kind of why I knew when I asked him before we moved if he would be willing to come out and help us plumb this project. He said yes, and I knew he would. So once the septic was in, it was time to work on inside plumbing. So I made the call. He made arrangements to take a whole week off from his busy schedule. And yeah, he flew out and we set to work. The first step in the plumbing project was to tie in to the septic line. We had a 4-inch line that came to the edge of the barn, and here we needed to run the main line into that 4-inch line. So right at the edge where Dean is, you see there is it switches from 4-inch to 3-inch. And there's also a little 2-inch line that's going to pick up the kitchen sink. So right now we're running the main 3-inch line all the way through our space. I had trenched that out before I put plastic down. And for the most part, that trench worked well. There was a couple of spots where we need to do a little more work in the dirt, but that was pretty smooth. Right here I'm stringing the line for the bathroom wall, and this is about the moment where I realized when I had framed the loft something had shifted, so I needed to kind of reposition that wall so we could get a real accurate dimension on the bathroom chase wall, where all the plumbing was going to go between the kitchen and the bathroom. So I had to move it over a little bit here, make sure it was still straight, and then I screwed down a little temporary board so Dean would know where to run all the plumbing through that chase wall. When we were doing this, we realized one of the joists was a little high, so a couple of quick planer swipes, and that leveled it all out. Dean continued to work on the main line here. We've got shower, toilet, bathroom, lavatory, and we got laundry that all has to tie in sort of in this area. So after a little bit more discussion, we sort of came up with a plan. Mostly I was just following Dean's lead because he's the pro and I'm the laborer. We needed to get a little bit of work done there in the dirt. So the trusty sledgehammer compacted things out of our way and allowed us to keep moving forward. The general idea was just to have a straight run all the way up into the shop That way I could have a shop sink, and I also could have a clean out if need be, and to run the 3-inch vent all the way through the roof actually on the shop side. So there wouldn't be any need to run anything up in the living side. So after we got things situated, I kind of followed behind and started insulating / keeping the pitch of the pipe exactly where we wanted it. Plumbing pipe runs 1/4 inch per foot for a slope for the drain. And so here I was packing some rock wool underneath the pipe to keep it in position. I'm still trying to keep my vapor barrier intact, so that's why I put a little piece of plastic on both ends. And here I continue to insulate and support the rest of that 3-inch line while Dean worked on all the offshoots that were going to be coming off of that. Of course, all of this work needed to be done before we could put down more subfloor. And of course, the subfloor had to get put down before we could build the rest of the bathroom walls and, basically finish the plumbing. So we worked pretty well as a team. Got ready to get the foam down. Need to make sure and cut out a section for that pipe that's sticking up. Like I said, that's for the kitchen. And once I kind of got that figured out, I was able to get that foam down and glue in a little short stubby piece of 2-inch pipe while Dean basically worked on all the plumbing that was going to be housed in that bathroom chase wall. Here, Dean is working on the leg that will accept the toilet. I'm putting some foil tape on all my seams just as sort of a belt and suspenders approach. There are 3 layers of visqueen down. But hey, just in case something ever permeates through that, it'll have to get through 2 inches of sealed foam before it gets to my framing. Dean's just about got the toilet run figured out here. And I think it's almost break time. After clearing our heads from all the solvent fumes, which strangely enough was getting kind of overpowering, even though we were in a gigantic barn, got back to work. Like I say, Dean's basically got the toilet figured out there. I'm going to strap it in place. And we're getting pretty close to our next sheet of insulation. So I'm going to support that toilet run. Dean is working on the shower leg right here. Got a 2-inch line that runs over to the shower. And once that's in place, I think we're ready for some more insulation. This joist is going to be the last straight joist for the shower. One of the nice things about new construction is you can cut your joists for a floor slope. We want to have a curbless shower here, so basically the floor will run into the shower enclosure, and then on the next joist over I'll notch it again 1/4 inch per foot, about 1.5 inches or so, and that's going to create the drain for the shower. So needed to kind of get the last straight joist in there so we could figure out exactly where that shower was going to land. And yeah, Dean's gluing the, oh, here is the dryer vent, which I had not given almost any thought to. Of course, the dryer's in the middle of the house. What am I going to do? How am I going to run it? And since the beam is deeper than the joist, I couldn't really run it through the beam, so I decided to run it underneath the floor joist. And here I'm just kind of running it straight out. It'll get the outside wall, and then on the outside wall I'll just run it up a couple feet or so to keep it out of the snow in the winter. Dean's on the shop side now, getting the clean out, getting the vent part done. Oh, time for a scene change here, camera change. I'm continuing to insulate, prepping for that next piece of foam. And Dean's working on that 3-inch rise for the vent and the clean out. Watching this time lapse, it makes it seem like we're getting a lot of work done. And honestly, we were getting a lot of work done, but it's always kind of interesting and entertaining to watch it all sped up, because it makes us look like we're really fast. But the truth is, we're a couple of middle-aged men who have been working construction for too long, and honestly, a week of this nonsense was about all my body could take. Discussion. Needless to say, I didn't have any isometric plumbing drawings all drawn up for Dean. This was kind of a design on the fly, although it's such a simple project. It's pretty straightforward. The camera change. Working on getting the joist there on the other side of that beam. Oh, guess it's break time. Good?
Good.
Okay, Internet, we're day 2 of the plumbing. Let me show you what we got accomplished on day 1, where most of the stuff's happening. Got a toilet here. Got, what's this thing?
A wet vent.
Wet vent. That's going to pick up
The lav.
bathroom lav, and the laundry is going to be over there.
Off that other 2-inch drain right there.
Right here.
Yes.
You can maybe see my 4-inch dryer duct that's going to be running all the way out this way. Here we got shower drain, yet to be exactly positioned. Over here we got kitchen sink. Here. And then over here, we're going to have a special thing here. Won't tell what that is yet. And then over here is going to be a shop sink. So that's what this is for. And then this vent will continue all the way up outside.
Wow, that's a long way.
Yeah. So, now we're ready to get started day 2. It's real early in the morning, so we're going to get cracking.
Yeah.
Real early. One of the other parts of the groundwork was to run supply lines over to the kitchen sink and kind of dawned on us that we needed to run supply over to the laundry before we got any more plywood in our way. So I started drilling holes to run the line, and Dean's running holes on his end. And once I get that joist situated, it was sort of time to start running some lines to the kitchen part. So that's what we got going on here. Had to pull up the insulation there so I could again run the lines to the laundry, which I had sort of forgotten about. And luckily Dean was able to fish it through that big hole I drilled in that plate. I'm sort of nailing off the supply line as he does his part, does all the fittings. We're using PEX plastic pipe here with the expansion ring connectors. He brought his PEX tool out here. It basically is, flares the end of the plastic long enough for you to put your fitting on there, and then it cinches back down to its original shape and makes for a watertight connection. So here Dean's running cold and hot water, of course, to the laundry, and I'm continuing. Well, I don't know who that bald guy is, but that bald guy in the picture, he's working on more insulation. Once we got the lines for the laundry, I could re-insulate. And starting to get real close to another layer of subfloor. So luckily we did not forget about the gas line. We are going to have a gas stove, propane stove, of course, because once you cook with gas, you never go back. Dean is running supply line for the toilet, and just kind of let that gas line run wild. We're not exactly sure where the water heater is going to go, and where the water heater goes is, where the gas is going to be. So once I get some more insulation in here, I'm finally ready for another sheet of subfloor. So clean the deck and get some adhesive down on the floor and sort of force that sheet into place long enough for me to nail it all down. So making headway here. This is the point where I realized that I forgot to run my wire to my septic system. Like I said, the septic has a pump, and it also has an alarm, so I needed a 15 and a 20 amp run, and nearly forgot to run that under the floor. So luckily I was able to use a stick to push my wire underneath there, and Dean pulled the wire over to the panel so I could make the connection and actually get that septic working. Up until now we've just been filling it with fluid, but at some point that pump's going to need to kick on and get rid of some of that fluid. So like I say, luckily we remembered this before it was too late. Otherwise it would have been a bit of a challenge to run wire under a floor that's already done. This, I think I've talked about it previously, but this construction is a little unorthodox. There is no crawl space. Normally, if there was a crawl space, wouldn't be a big deal to run wire. I mean, it might be a big deal. You'd have to crawl around, but in here, we don't have that option. So kind of have to have everything in place before we start sealing stuff up. So I had to do a little bit more framing here It's kind of off camera. You can see the end of that LVL beam poking out. I had not finished the LVL work, so dawned on us kind of yesterday on the first day that in order for us to continue getting joist in there, we needed more beams. So slight detour from the plumbing, just to get our beam made up. And then once that's done, we can keep running joists and keep doing subfloor. Here's a little better view of the framing involved. We're sistering up our LVLs here, getting them all the way to the outside wall, which is pretty exciting. 36 feet of framing. Felt good, even though it was a lot of work that was sort of getting in the way of our plumbing progress, but necessary things. So, like I say, this is the start of the shower. So here I'm drawing a mark and cutting a taper on the joist. So the shower floor drains, of course. And figuring that out. Cutting a few, making sure I'm still in plane with the rest of the floor. I ended up deciding to put another joist sort of in the middle there, right in the shower area, just because, why not? Once that was done, it was onto the second layer of foam so I could start getting some more rock wool in the floor. I don't know if you noticed it, but I'm pulling this rock wool off of the camper roof, which is horrible for her, but it's necessary. We had taken all of our R30 and put it on the camper, and R30 is what we need for the floor. So, like it or not, she's going to have to shed a coat. So, yeah. More insulation, more insulation, more insulation. More taping, more taping, more taping. Here we're sistering on a 2x4 alongside the in joist, which coincides with the slope of the floor with the other joist that we had cut. So here we're trying to figure out all of our penetrations in our plywood subfloor. And then what we did is just ripped it right down the middle. Here I think we forgot one hole for the toilet. Once we got that figured out, it was more glue and another piece of plywood down. More glue and the other half of that piece of plywood. So I keep hitting my head on that wire stand, which I think at some point we decided to do something about that. Nail off that subfloor. And cut out a little notch out of there because that's the piece that's going to start sloping down. And we can get going on this floor finally, or excuse me, the wall, shower wall, the chase wall between the kitchen and the bath. Sort of the thing we've been waiting for the last day and a half, 2 days.